Welcome everyone to the edition of Reimagine Mobility podcast series. I'm here with Stephane Vedie from LUXIT. Stephane, welcome to the show. You and I know each other for a while. You're doing some unique things, and I think many people may not realize how important lighting is in the mobility space, not only in the past, but certainly today, and for sure also in the future. So maybe explain a little bit your role, what company you're working for, what you guys are doing, and then let's jump in and see how you see the future of mobility and how you see with your technologies help reimagine how we see mobility today.
Yeah, thank you, Stefan. Thank you for the opportunity. Like you said, I'm the CEO of LUXIT Group. LUXIT Group is a new supplier that we put together with the acquisition of 5 different companies. We are about $250 million in terms of revenue. We have 5 plants in the US, 2 in Taiwan, 2 in China. And we do lighting. We do lighting as a tier 2, supporting all the headlamp and rear lamp manufacturers all over the globe and mainly in North America. And we do lighting as a tier 1, doing all the small lamps. So it can be fog lamp, stop lamp, side marker, side repeater, license plate lamp, and more interior lighting as well. So that's who we are. You are an expert in powertrain. AVL is an expert in powertrain. So you know better than me that in the past with ICE engine and powertrain, it was pretty easy to differentiate the vehicles from one brand to the other, from one model to the other, based on powertrain itself. Now with EV, tell me what you think, but it seems to me as a user that there are less differences with EV vehicles. So the car manufacturers, the OEM, the brands, they need to find new ways to differentiate vehicles. And I think lighting is really instrumental in this. With the EV introduction, we see that lighting is also getting more real estate around the vehicle. One simple reason, with EV, you have less engine noise, less powertrain noise. So it's even more important for the car to be seen to avoid accident, to make sure that the people around the vehicle notice the vehicle. So we see a lot of opportunities, a lot of new areas where we are adding lighting. In terms of differentiation, you've seen, I'm sure, some lead badges, lead logos, lead thread plates. We are putting light in new areas. One great area also for differentiation to create a look, a brand identity is the grille. In the past with ICE, you need the grille to cool the engine compartment. Now you don't need this function anymore. So you can introduce lights. You can do a lot of different styling and pretty cool design. So that's what we do. And lighting, and that's really a great motivation for me, for my team. It's also always about safety. We are in the business of saving life, and I don't think everyone is realizing this. There are about 1.3, 1.4 million of fatalities on the road every year, which is far too much, far too many. I think we are all trying to focus on the vision of 0 fatalities. I hope we're gonna reach this one day with technology, with autonomous driving, with all the trends that we are able, all the technology we are able to implement in the new vehicles. But 72% of the fatalities occur during night. So I think there is a direct correlation between the quality of your lighting, the kind of features we can offer to the drivers, to the users, and the safety on the road. And so that's something that keeps us busy, keeps us focused, and we try to support our customers on this. In terms of vision, there are a lot of trends when we look, for example, at autonomous driving. I don't think we are really close to level 5, but we are in the middle of level 2, 3, and getting closer to level 4. When you start having some portion of your morning driving or your commute to work, where you don't need to pay full attention to the road, where you don't need to be fully focused on the steering wheel and what's coming up at you, then you can start reading your morning paper, you can start answering your emails, drinking your coffee, being a little distracted. And this is when your vehicle is becoming your second living room. And this is where you start speaking about ambient lighting, mood lighting. This is where we can introduce a lot of cool features. And this is what we are doing. And more we are present into the interior lighting, bringing technologies, bringing some comfort also to the passengers and the drivers of the vehicles.
Very interesting. Stephane, talk to me a little bit. I felt like for the last maybe up until about 5 years ago, a lot of lighting focus and effort was given to interior lighting, right? So that the customer can, whatever, different color lightings in night driving or accessorizing to some degree the interior or the in-cabin experience. And then I felt like things maybe have shifted a little bit over the last 5 years. We're going to adaptive lighting now, sensors that are getting integrated, such as LiDAR sensors and other type of sensors into the headlights and the taillights. Where do you see the future of innovation happening in lighting? Is it interior? Is it exterior? Is it dependent on, as you just mentioned, we go in autonomous and we need more sensor places to put sensors. How do you guys see it, who are really in the middle of this industry and this trend, maybe?
No, I think we go both ways. Lots of innovation and content expansion on the interior lighting for the reason I just mentioned. The vehicle becoming your second living room and new functions being introduced. And I think we are in the middle of this, and I think we're going to continue to see some increased trend towards this increasing content. In terms of exterior lighting, we've seen a trend of digitalization of light, pixelization of light. We see more and more reducing the size of the lighting elements. And LEDs are really offering always endless opportunities in terms of styling, in terms of technologies, and in terms of efficiencies also. The efficiency of the LEDs is increasing. So if we have innovations on the interior, we have innovation on the exterior, and I think one of the main trends is to see lighting gaining some new real estate around the vehicles.
I think an interesting thing I read about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I don't know, but quite a while back, so several years back, was, and I haven't seen it in the field, so I want to ask you if it actually exists yet, was technology that they were talking about where the light actually becomes smart enough to see that there's another person walking on the side of the road, and it automatically would adjust where the light goes, so I wouldn't be blinded if I ride a bicycle or if I walk on the sidewalk or whatever it might be. Is that technology there, and is it widely deployed, or is it more in some very specific applications?
No, absolutely. The technology is there. We use it in a matrix headlamp, for example. It's not the light. The light is part of a system that has a camera in most of the cases, but the light is also helping the radar, the light, and there is definitely a trend, like you mentioned, of integrating this new elements of the vehicles like a radar or light camera into lighting, because the lighting pieces are beautiful pieces, and usually we hide this ugly radar, this ugly LiDAR behind a bezel, behind a decorating element inside a headlamp or inside a rear lamp to keep the harmony of the design, to keep the harmony and the appealing aspect of the vehicle.
What are you guys at LUXIT seeing as it relates to insourcing and outsourcing? A lot of talk right now over the last year, maybe specifically to the IRA when it comes to batteries, right? You got to do the batteries in the US so that you can qualify for certain government incentives and whatnot. How do you guys see it when it comes to headlights? Is it a similar discussion? Or are you doing it to be strategically more prepared to compete in the US market that you said earlier you're heavily focused on? Or what do you see when it comes to insourcing and outsourcing, which again is not a trend or a reimagining mobility topic from a vehicle, but from the complete ecosystem that some of our listeners and viewers are interested to know about more as well?
Yeah. At LUXIT, we don't do headlamp, we don't do rear lamp, but we support as a tier 2 the headlamp and the rear lamp makers. And we see that more and more the headlamp and rear lamp makers, they use outsourcing to focus on the critical elements of their products. So they rely heavily on companies like us, and there are not so many that have the set of skills that we are able to have, that are very specific to the lighting industry. And more, instead of supplying to a company just a plastic part or aluminum die casting heat sink, we do a full sub-assembly, we do a full module. So there is clearly a trend towards outsourcing more of the content of the headlamp and rear lamp. 10, 15 years ago, a headlamp was 25 parts in the bill of material. Today, you have headlamps with 300, 350 components. So this increased complexity is forcing the headlamp and rear lamp makers to outsource some of the sub-assemblies to companies like us. In our tier one business, in the small business, the fog lamp that we produce, for example, we are very unique in this. We are the only player able to fully vertically integrate every element of these lamps. We produce the plastic parts, we do the metallization, we do the coating, the hard coating, the anti-fog coating, we do the electronics. We have 5 SMT lines right now and are looking to expand our electronic capacity. And we have a fully automatic assembly process. And that's the reason why we are able to reshore the production of small lighting in the United States. We have 5 plants in the US, and our customers are really demanding to be localized close to their plants. I think in the last few years with COVID, with the supply chain issues that our industry has faced, everyone has realized the benefits of having your suppliers close to your assembly plants. So that's what we offer to our OEMs, to the customers. We offer the proximity. At the same time, we still need to be cost competitive. So the vertical integration that we are offering is giving us this competitive advantage in terms of cost that allowing us to localize in the US.
Very interesting. And if you, Stefan, if you look 5 years forward, do you see that trend continuing, as you mentioned, that the tier one lamp providers come to you for technologies that they may not have or for capabilities that they don't want to do, as well as for inshoring, so to speak, so production in the US? Do you see that continue, or do you see something changes again once the human mind, once we forget about that there was COVID and supply chain issues, we forget about it, and we go back to what we did before, which is push everything outside the US? What do you see right now?
Yeah, I see these 2 trends. So first, I think the lighting companies that are making headlamp and rear lamp, they will invest more and more in electronics and less on plastic and plastic injection and surface treatment investment. So I think there are opportunities for us to continue to grow as a partner and as an assembler of small modules for them. As far as the car manufacturers, I think the trend is here to stay. They want a regional panel of suppliers. I don't think anymore the US car manufacturers want to import too much products from Southeast Asia, from China. I think they are adopting some regional strategies. So for the cars they produce in the US, they want US suppliers. For the cars they produce in China, they want Chinese suppliers. For the cars they produce in Europe, they want European suppliers. They want to avoid the cross flow between the regions. But I think at the same time, they would like to have only one development partner. So if you are a global company like we are, you are able to support the car manufacturer with the right development capacity in the region that they need it. And then you are able to produce locally in each of the market. You are answering their needs. And I think this is the trend for the years to come, for sure.
Interesting. And you alluded a little bit to it. My next question I wanted to ask. So you said you see less and less lamp manufacturers, let's say tier ones, right, to focus on the plastic. They start to focus more on the electronics, which is great for you because the other part is what you do, and that's increased business, right, for what others don't want to do as a perfect fit. But generally speaking, when it comes to lamps, is it then fair to say with that comment you made that even lamps now are getting more and more focused on the electronics and on the software, similar to what we see with the vehicle as a whole, right? We're talking about the software-defined vehicle, the software on wheels or whatever, all the terminologies we're hearing nowadays. Is it then something that everybody always assumed is a piece of plastic with a lamp sticking out that we call the front or the tail light? Is that heavily moving into much more software focused and software, I mean, it's not controlled, but defined to some degree?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, every lamp, but it's almost valid for every part of the car. Every lamp is a smart lamp. It's smart lighting. For us in the small lighting business, the interior lighting is getting more and more software content. You want to be able to command the intensity of lighting with a gesture only, for example. You want to the vehicle to recognize who is the driver today, to adapt to the setting to this specific person, for example. We have more and more welcome features in the vehicle, so the vehicle recognize whose cell phone is in the pocket of the person coming, and then so if it's you, Stefan, then there will be the Swiss flag. If it's me, there will be the French flag. If it's Jeremiah, there will be the American flag,
There you
as a
go.
welcome features, for example. We have products already that we are selling to our customers where you can customize your welcome features based on lighting. We have small logo projections. It's pretty high resolution. You can also project some small movies, small videos, and you can project the logo of your favorite sports team. You can project the picture of your kids. You can project whatever you want. And for sure, there are regulations. The regulations are pretty easy to deal with when the car is in parking position. Obviously, when the car is in movement, it's more complicated. But the regulations will evolve, and we see areas in the world like China, for example, that are becoming very permissible. And you can do a lot of things in China that you can do in Europe and that you can do in the US. Today, the US is a little behind in terms of allowing these new features, these new functions to be legal on the road.
So let's stick for a moment with the French flag. I think that was a great example. I'm definitely going to look for my next car to be able to put that flag down and see what I can do there. The French flag. So that kind of feature, which I think is, let's just call it cool, right? I'm not sure that's the right word, but maybe the American way to say it, it's a cool feature, and it's a differentiation, and it brings the car closer to something that I feel is my own, right? I customize it. Where do you see the trend where OEMs want to have that? Is it at the high-end vehicle? Is it at the middle? Is it at the lower end? Or are they pushing it out across the board? What is it? What's the trend that you're seeing where some of these features, again, that's just an example, but other ones of these advanced features that you just mentioned, who are the OEMs pushing them? Or at least the German OEM or the European OEMs, where the legal environment allows it, but not the US ones? Is it the Asian ones? Is it the high-end vehicle, the low end? Where do you see it?
If you stick with our example, that's a very simple thing to do. It's a static projection, obviously in color, but you don't need a super high resolution. It's not like you project a video. It's not very expensive. And this type of projection system that you can do exterior and interior, by the way, I think every car manufacturer right now is looking at it. It's pretty cheap to do. But why? I think clearly there is a trend towards shared mobility. I mean, the trend was even much stronger before COVID. COVID, I think, has slowed this down a little bit, but it's still out there. And when one vehicle is being shared by different user, still as a user, you want to feel it's your own vehicle when you use it. So you want to have ways to customize this vehicle, to have ways to feel that's my car, that's my vehicle. And these little functions are part of the customization. You can add your own settings for interior lighting. You can add your own welcome features. You can add, the same way that the seat is also recognizing you. The seat will have the setup that you have pre-recorded before. So I think that's the trend that's driving this, and shared mobility, so that you can have different users of the same vehicle, of the same car.
Very interesting. Do you see in that trend, exactly what we just talked about, do you see the OEMs looking at this as something you got to have to compete? Again, Tesla has a lot of bells and whistles of what you can configure and lights and things that you can do on the screen and other type of features. And as you mentioned, other OEMs are now starting to bring that as well, or already have. But do you see this as a trend that is looking at differentiating your product, or is it something, everybody's doing it, so I have to do it as well just to kind of keep up? Where do you see that ultimately going?
I mean, each brand has their own brand identity. My personal taste, I think less is more. I don't want my car to look like a Christmas tree the entire year. Maybe for 1 week in the year or 1 month in the year. So every brand is defining who they are in terms of style. And that's, I think, one of the power of lighting is you are part of defining the brand identity, the family feeling, the signature also of the vehicle when you look at the vehicle from the back. So that's why we are working with the studio. That's why we're working with the marketing department. That's why we're at the crossroad of different stakeholders inside the car manufacturers.
Let's go back to what you said, I think, a little bit earlier, that lighting is really, and your company is in the middle of it, trying to protect lives, right? So it's a way of not only giving the driver a better view forward or backwards or sideways maybe as well, but also to let other road users or potential pedestrians know that there's a vehicle coming, right? What is it that you see going forward that lighting needs to do even more, or maybe the OEMs need to do even more with lighting that maybe today we're not doing, specifically as it relates to safety? And example might be, total example, totally out of the blue, more lights. We need more lights. A vehicle is not lit enough right now, or needs to be more targeted lighting, or lighting needs to be tied together with noise. As soon as we detect another road user, another pedestrian specifically, we go into EVs who are much more quiet than ICE. Stephan, where do you see it there? Again, as we reimagine mobility, where do you see lighting maybe not used enough, specifically as it relates to safety?
Lighting has two functions, is to see and to be seen. These are the two functions of what we do. So I think, especially with the EV penetration, the to be seen functions needs to continue to be enhanced, and we need to make sure that if you cannot hear the vehicle coming, at least you see it. I think that's very important. The to see function, someone could think, if one day the car is fully autonomous, if we reach a level 5, we don't need lights, nobody needs to see. I disagree. I think for the cameras, for example, to work correctly, you need a minimum of lighting. You need a good lit environment to be able to detect the objects that are coming at you or that are around the vehicle. Here, I think we need to work more on the connections between the lighting system of the vehicle and the other sensor system, if you want. More and more, we will evolve from lighting companies to sensing companies. I think this is the sense of history here. In terms of safety, the more light, the better for the driver, but still you need to be careful for the oncoming traffic not to glare the oncoming traffic, not to create danger for the others. So the best technology that is available on the market is the matrix technology, where you are able to isolate the area of the vision of the oncoming traffic, so you can always be on high beam if you want. You can always have the maximum of light projected on the road and still avoid glaring the oncoming drivers, the oncoming traffic. This has been available for several years now, but unfortunately it took a long time to become legal in the US, and still it's not fully applicable the way we'd like it to be applicable. So I'm a firm believer that the matrix technology can save life. And I think that's definitely something we need to do a better job as an industry in terms of accelerating implementation of these technologies.
Interesting. And then maybe the last question, Stephan, outside of lighting, what excites you the most about the future of mobility? Is it eVTOLs? Is it autonomous vehicles? Is it that you don't have to go to the grocery store, but a robot brings you exactly what you order directly to your doorsteps? What is it that excites you? Again, outside of lighting for a moment, please.
And I like to drive my car, so I'm not that excited about autonomous driving. I mean, sometimes it can be practical when you have something else to do and need to get somewhere, but I hope we're still going to be able to drive vehicles, I think there are ways also to keep ICE, green. I think there are ways that ICE can be even greener than EVs. And I'd like that we don't forget about this, and I'm not in a powertrain business, so I leave this to experts like you, Stephan, but I still would like to keep some ICE on the roads and have fun driving my vehicle if I want to, so maybe that's not the vision of everyone, that's not the vision of the future, but at least that's my personal opinion.
That's good. That's all that matters here. Thank you so much, Stephan, for your time and for insight into an area that probably very few people outside of the immediate industry of lamps and lighting are familiar with, but again, very important as we've just learned over the last 25 minutes. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Reimagine Mobility Podcast. If you like this episode, please subscribe and tell a friend.